China's real estate bubble is absolutely collapsing. In 2008, when the subprime mortgage crisis nearly ended modern capitalism, housing was 8% of U.S. GDP, while housing is still 25% of China's. This is an epic meltdown, and it's just beginning. Meanwhile, in the United States, inflation is so high that the Federal Reserve is talking about raising interest rates further, choking credit out of the economy completely. Everything is expensive. Gold is perfect for this environment, but it's near all-time highs already. So I want to present a company called Gold Mining Inc., trading on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker GLDG. The reason is that this is a company that trades at multi-year lows, extremely cheap. Their gold resources are only worth $1 an ounce. At the end of this video, click on this link in the description box. There's an entire presentation explaining how this company is effectively 80% or 90% more discounted than anything out there. If you're bullish on gold, I urge you to stop everything you're doing and download this carefully drafted report now. Good morning. I'm still reporting on the coup. Finally, this is coming out. We've all known that somehow, some way, the FBI was involved in the January 6th mob rush into the U.S. Capitol building. Why did we know this? Because Trump people don't act this way. After events, Trumpers even pick up their trash. They want nothing to tarnish their reputation or the reputation of their movement. Now, over the course of the last 2.5 years or so, the bad guys have tried to blame the whole thing on a Miami group called the Proud Boys. We had never heard of this Proud Boys thing until the January 6th event. We certainly could not possibly be led by them in a stupidly conceived attack on the Congress of the United States. There is nary a soul among the 100 million or so solid Trump supporters in the U.S. who would not automatically reject such an idea as straight-out sedition. Nope, you couldn't have conceived a plan more 180 degrees in opposition from Trump supporters' natural proclivities. No, January 6th was designed, it turns out, by the Peter Strzok's of the intelligence world to ultimately enable small-time crooked prosecutors out in the hinterlands looking for instant fame to concoct bogus charges against President Trump in an outcome that would make it possible to ban him from running in a small handful of states sufficiently to actually make a difference. It's now clear that outcome isn't going to happen, or at least not on the industrial scale sufficient to overcome the expected massive Trump vote in election 2024, even though security upgrades offered by one voting machine provider to the state of Georgia will not be implemented in time for election 2024. What does that tell you? So, even without solid evidence of FBI involvement, this was not going to work. Perhaps their plan B is to, one way or another, gently remove Biden from office, then try something like inserting California Governor Gavin Newsom into the presidential line of succession ahead of Kamala. Yes, they are that desperate. Let's hope the Supremes would finally step in and nix that possibility as totally unconstitutional. But now the wheels of justice are grinding down to the truth of the Koosters' 9-page paper that outlined their J6 plans. It was named 1776 Returns, and it has now been confirmed as being written by a young and creative FBI operative by the name of Samuel Arms. Now catch this. Arms' testimony was made before the J6 Unselect Committee, the one featuring Liz Cheney's final performance as a concerned citizen. Somehow the J6 committee was able to hide this document until now. According to this breathtaking story released yesterday by the Gateway Pundit, authored by Jim Hoft, Arms is a former State Department and Special Operations official. He testified before the J6 committee in July of 2022 that he recognized parts of the 1776 files as part of a wargaming exercise he wrote in August or September of 2020, just a couple of months before election 2020 and in the preparatory planning for it. Arms said that in college he had been groomed to join the CIA and FBI before his stint in the State Department and Special Operations. In his studies, he often participated in wargaming scenarios, skills he used during his stint in the government. The J6 committee was resistant in releasing these documents. So keep in mind that Liz Cheney and the rest of the unselect J6 committee took this testimony more than 1 year ago. Arms claimed that he did not write the completed 1776 files, a 9-page document. However, this is hard to believe once you understand what happened next. According to the Gateway Pundit, the mysterious 1776 document was sent unsolicited to Proud Boy Chairman Enrique Tarrio's telegram right before January 6th by a love interest named Erica Flores. Flores reportedly testified to the J6 committee that a government official, Arms, was the author of the entirety of the 1776 returns document, and that this FBI and CIA member or associate asked her to share it with Tarrio. Tarrio was charged with seditious conspiracy and was later found guilty along with 4 fellow members of the Proud Boys. Enrique Tarrio was sentenced to 22 years in federal prison for planning the entire seditious conspiracy. We now know that it was the FBI who was behind that conspiracy. And that's why FBI Director Chris Wray has steadfastly refused to answer any questions about the number or makeup of FBI informants in the J6 crowd. According to Roger Roots, an attorney defending the Proud Boys, it appears that the government itself is the author of the most incriminating and damning document in this case, which was mysteriously sent at government request to Proud Boy leader Enrique Tarrio immediately prior to January 6th in order to frame or implicate Tarrio in a government-created scheme to storm buildings around the Capitol. But there is no proof that Tarrio ever looked at the document. It was used only to frame Tarrio by laying out in writing, supposedly, his malicious plans for J6. Here is a screenshot of the 1776 returns document. The name itself is designed to be a hyper-patriot document, but it was not. To reiterate, this government asset, Arms, passed his document off to a love interest of Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio named Erica. This love interest has testified she forwarded the document at the request of Arms to Tarrio via telegram. Again, according to Proud Boys attorney Roger Roots, this means that the most damning document in the entire trial was offered by the intelligence community, someone groomed by the FBI itself, and the CIA and FBI asset requested Tarrio's love interest to share the document with Tarrio just prior to January 6. Again, despite the fact that there was no evidence of Tarrio seeing the document, the prosecution successfully painted a picture that Tarrio conceived the document as his overall war plan for J6. But it was not. It was a contrivance of the intelligence community to try to paint a deliberate seditious conspiracy and later on blame that on President Trump. According to the Gateway Pundit, the document laid out a plan for the occupation of 8 key buildings in the District of Columbia on January 6, 2021. This included House and Senate office buildings and the Supreme Court. The strategy included a call for the mass mobilization of followers invoking the sentiment and spirit of 1776 and the 1917 storming of the Winter Palace by Bolsheviks in the Russian Revolution. Notice the emphasis on the Russian Revolution, all part of the Russia, Russia, Russia theme the intel community was still trying to support. Fortunately, Trump supporters were not at all interested in following this agent provocateur plotline. Their idea was to stand in front of the Capitol building and, as Trump said, let their voices be heard. Despite the urgings of FBI agent provocateurs, the average Trumper had no interest in ransacking the Capitol building. The Capitol Police had to even take down the barricades and wave them in to make it look like an authentic revolution. Proud Boys leader Theriault had nothing to do with the creation of these plans, and they were simply sent to him via telegram by a love interest. Yet the Biden DOJ misled the already biased jury to believe the document belonged to Theriault, and the dishonorable Judge Timothy Kelly allowed this charade to proceed, even though he was aware of the document's history from pretrial hearings. The trial of two of the Proud Boys was held in a Washington, D.C. courtroom, according to another Gateway Pundit report. According to our courtroom observer, Gabriel Garcia, the jury pools for both men were comprised of a cast of mostly far-left liberals who admitted to getting their news from CNN and the Washington Post. They made statements like, "What happened on January 6th is a stain in America's history," and admitted that they could not be fair and impartial jurors. Under normal pretrial conditions, that alone would cause a juror candidate to be rejected. The most shocking thing I noticed was how Chief Justice Beryl Howell, surprise, surprise, an Obama appointee, kept pushing forward potential jurors that clearly answered that they cannot remain impartial, to put their feelings aside and make a decision based on the evidence clearly presented by the government. And that's how these gigantic sentences were handed out to people whose presence on January 6th was apparently not motivated by a deliberate seditious conspiracy to take down the government of the United States. That was apparently the contrivance of the FBI. If all that proves to be true, this is a giant stain on justice in the U.S., and these defendants turned prison inmates deserve to be retried at government expense and in a state that can offer a fair trial, especially in light of these revelations today. Beyond that, a reformed government is going to have to hold the perpetrators of this coup d'etat to account. Simply stopping them cannot fix the problem. I'm still reporting from just outside the citadel of world freedom. Good day.